Dark Souls has several demon weapons, and I thought it would be fun to beat the game using only those, but with an added catch that every time I die, I lose one, effectively turning this into a limited lives run. Now, if you Google Demon Weapons Dark Souls, it actually returns weapons that can be upgraded with Demon Titanite, which is cool, but see, I meant the weapons that have demon in the name. As such, my 5 available weapons are the Demon's Great Machete, the Demon's Great Axe, the Demon's Great Hammer, the Demon's Spear, and the Demon's Catalyst. Rules are pretty simple. If I die, whatever weapon I'm holding is cast into the abyss, but I'm adding a second rule just to make it a bit more interesting. No quit-outs to stop gravity. That's right, if I slip off a ledge, tough luck, that's a life. Run-ins when I beat the game, all bosses, of course, or when I no longer have any lives left. Make sure to cast your votes in the comments below about how this is going to end, and with that, I think it's time to— wait, I have an important announcement! I've started a second channel, Level 0. There are a lot of hugely important video games that I've never played before, so I thought it would be fun to capture my first time playing and talking about them. It's sort of like a retrospective channel, but I'm not smart enough for it to actually be called that. Right now, it's got Morrowind and Super Mario RPG on there, with plenty more to come. I would appreciate it if you could check it out, and if you like what you see, subscribe. Oh yeah, I guess that goes for this channel too. If you like challenge runs, that is. Anyway, thanks everyone, I appreciate you all. The run starts by making a character. Normally I would look up what class has the ideal stats for the run, but I forgot to do that and I just kinda wanted to start, so Thief it is. I picked the old witch's ring as a gift because the other things are equally as worthless. I wasn't completely sure what to name my character, but I settled on Rias because, well, that's the kind of joke you come to expect on my channel. True to the anime, she takes all of her clothes off immediately. Oh, that is not how I remember her looking. Well, I'm going to say something that I never thought I would say in my life. Ma'am, please put your pants back on. Through the power of standing completely still for a couple of minutes, I am graced with the demonic weapons of my playthrough, and with that, Jane, would you please put a life counter on screen and let's get the ball rolling. Alright, let's see what kind of damage we're working with. Oh my god. Okay, wait, no, I gotta hold back my excitement. This is a tutorial boss, he doesn't have a lot of health. Still, nearly 300 damage on a decently fast poke is nothing to scoff at. Beating him without getting the Estus awards the Demon's Great Hammer, but I already gave that to myself, so I'm not going to take this for an extra life or anything. That feels a bit more like cheating. You know, more so than actually cheating in the weapons did. Lemon for not making the DS2 two-shot video? Death. On my way out, I make sure to grab the poppable soul, then arrive in the beautiful city of Lordvessel, where I immediately pump everything into strength and unbacon myself. This serves 2 purposes. 1 is a visual indicator for my life, as I have the memory of a goldfish, and 2, I don't want to look at pruny cheeks for the whole run. Quickly on the note of weapon drops, I decided that the guaranteed weapon drops like the previous Great Hammer or the Demon's Catalyst won't be something I keep to give myself an extra edge. However, if one of the non-guaranteed ones drop, for example the Demon's Great Machete from the Capra fight, well, that's just a green mushroom, ain't it? Anyway, I set off for the Undead Burg. The early part of these limited lives runs are always the scariest. Well, maybe the second scariest behind the Bed of Chaos fight, but the reason is I don't have a lot of any of the stats. This run in particular, the Catalyst and Spear are usable pretty much out of the box, but the Machete, Hammer, and greataxe have a ludicrous strength requirement. The tension comes from the fact that if I choose to only level Vitality for health, then die and lose my 2 accessible options, I'm then stuck with weapons I can't even swing and deal next to no damage. Inversely, leveling Strength early would offset that, but then I risk not having enough health to survive encounters. That's not to mention Endurance and the fact that all those weapons weigh as much as 46.93 Big Macs. All that's to say, the early game is a delicate balancing act, and until I have some levels under my belt, I don't want to risk anything. So I thought I would take on the Taurus Demon. I can't plunge attack with the Catalyst, but I can lure him up to the tower for a wider place to fight him, and thankfully this deals some serious damage. Alright, I'm just gonna dodge this attack with a totally normal hitbox. It's a good thing I'm already wearing my brown pants. The moment I baited a long attack, I healed back up to full. What's crazy is before the fight started, I jumped off the tower because the ladder is too slow, and if I didn't heal that tiny amount of health, that fall probably would have killed me. Okay, from now on we roll through the hits. I hate this game. It's not a problem, he goes down, but I should have realized that this fight was an omen of what's to come. Due to nearly being turned to paste twice, I figured pumping everything into Vitality for now was the smart play. That being said, I did use the Dragon Barbecue for 1 level and allocated that to Strength. I figured I would make my way to Andre now, but for some reason I was more afraid of the dragon than Havel, which is absolutely stupid. Havel is a unit. The dragon is just a red lizard. I was smart enough to wait for the conga line of hollows to come to me though, that way I wasn't pincered between the rock and a shield place. My next couple of moves were critical. It would be logical to go do an easy boss like the butterfly or pinwheel, but the worry was my low health and defenses. The gargoyles are actually really easy too, but there's 2 of them which can rapidly turn into a problem. Some good news is that while I can't use the 3 strength weapons yet, they are actually all regular titanite weapons. Only the spear has special upgrading with demon titanite, though that being said, I ain't touching the titanite demons with a 10-foot pole, at least not yet. So before doing anything, I figured some utility was my best bet. First I killed the Baronic Knight for the guaranteed titanite shard, then grabbed the Firekeeper's soul, which I immediately handed over to Anastasia for more healing. Next, some Homeward Bones and some Lloyd Talismans, though the latter I didn't actually end up using. The item to pick up after that is the Best Crest Shield. I did decide that I can't block with the shield as that would make this run too easy, but I can still wear them for their auxiliary effects or parry with them. The last item I wanted to grab is the Wolf Ring for extra poise, but I was so afraid of needlessly dying I didn't even use the shortcut where you drop off this ledge, instead opting to run all the way around to pick it up. Funnily enough, on my way down I actually got stuck between a rock and a frog ray and thought this was the end for me. Thankfully I was able to hop out of that really frightful situation. Also, it dropped 2 green blossoms. Neat. Anyway, I grabbed the ring, then realized I still need to be confident, otherwise I would fail, so I jumped back to the ledge from before. With that, I was almost ready to take on the Gargs. The only thing I needed to do was bring down the Chandler carefully so I wouldn't get dogpiled by the Succubus Simp Squad. Yes, that's why we are careful. With the Chandler dead and unusable ultimate weapon acquired, I returned to the bonfire to level up my vitality just a touch more, and it was already time for the first major boss of the run. Going in, my concern absolutely was not damage, and as soon as my fiery need to see a doctor's stick poked at the gargoyle, I could see I was right. However, I did not want to get cornered and turn into a piece of shriveled meat, so I really wanted to kill the first Garg before the second one came out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stagger it or cut off the tail with my catalyst, so the second one did join the fight. Having said that, it really doesn't matter much. I could probably talk for about 5 more seconds and the fight would be over. Was I right? Is the fight over? Easy victory. You know, I'll never understand why my ear doctor wanted me to stand under this bell and why he had dollar signs in his eyes. I cashed in my 10,000 souls for those sweet, sweet levels in vitality, and now I'm right back where I was just 6 or 7 minutes ago, wondering what I should do next. I could turn Lautrec into a pancake that would award the Ring of Favor and Protection, but I don't have a demonic foot weapon to kick, and weirdly, I kinda want to save Anastasia from being dead. I don't know why, every time I do that it backfires and I regret not having Firelink Spawnfire, but oh well. So in the end, I decided I would just brave Quelaag. She's immune to fire damage and my love letters, but she's not immune to a giant demon stick, and I mean giant. Look at this thing. Why is it so big? It's comically large, right? This isn't your average spear size, this is oops, I dropped my magnum sheath for my monster spear size. 93 damage. Well, that sucks. I can't get over how stupidly big this spear is. It looks so dumb, but I love it, and it does actually have a small tactical advantage here. See, I'm actually able to reach her weak point with the tip of it, though it's not particularly useful, as even if you do land that blow, your character steps forward with the attack, so you can't chain it like you can with arrows or spells. Anyway, after 5 minutes of vigorous thrusting, she rolls over and goes to bed. Job well done, right fellas? Oh my god, it looks even dumber when it's on my back. I unironically actually love this thing. Anyway, that's 2 bells rung, allowing access to Sen's fortress. Assuming nothing goes horribly wrong, I can also net an easy 20,000 souls from Ceaseless Discharge. I steal his dead sister's clothes, sending him into a fury, then patiently wait for his attack to end because a long time ago I learned the hard way that this actually does have a hitbox on it that stretches over the arena. Just to humiliate him, I decided to use the demon's great machete on him, doing a whopping 3 damage a swing, but as we all know, that doesn't matter, and after a couple of pathetic taps to his wrist, he falls down, securing another kill. With a cool 40k souls, I dump everything into strength, bringing it up to 22, still nowhere near enough to even two-hand the weapons, but every little bit helps. At this point, I figured I had enough general levels to increase my defenses enough to feel comfortable taking on the butterfly, not a sentence I ever thought I would say, but here we are. The quick laser blast doesn't do much, but I was still worried that the slow one would one-shot me if boosted by instability damage, so I had to make sure to not let that happen. When the beast finally landed, I tried my hardest to one-cycle it, but I was not able to pull it off, and it lived just one hit away from death. Thankfully, it landed about a minute later, and it flied its last butter, or whatever JK would say. 2 more levels into strength. The primary goal was to be able to two-hand the weapons, the machete first as it had the lowest strength requirement, then immediately after that two-hand the other 2 as well, with the reach goal being able to one-hand all of them. I was gonna need a lot more souls to make that happen. At first I had thought to do the Stray Demon, that's an easy boss, albeit time-consuming without a leveled or a bleed weapon, but then I failed to make the jump and I took that as a sign that I shouldn't go back to the Undead Asylum just yet. So instead I force-fed Frampt a few items and grabbed what remained of the Firekeeper. Which reminded me I could pick up the other Firekeeper souls. The one in Blighttown was a bit scary with my health and the toxic guys and the dogs, but the one in New Londo was pretty easy, just grab it and quickly bone out without an issue. Unfortunately, with Anastasia currently preoccupied with the certainty of taxes, I couldn't actually level my Estus unless I wanted to run all the way down to Blighttown. So for now, I just hold on to it and instead buy the weaponsmith box from Andre to make leveling my weapons a bit more accessible until I get the Lordvessel. Also, after that, I repaired my stuff and bought a titanite shard, and what are the odds I had the exact amount of souls necessary? It was a strangely satisfying moment. In the end, I decided the best course of action would be to get some more levels, and honestly, the easiest boss available right now is the Iron Golem, so it was time to brave Sin's Funhouse. But something was off. See, I've played these games so many times, I have my routes and movements beyond memorized. It's muscle memory, ultra instinct even. I don't think about it, I just act. However, during limited live runs, there are small hesitations, little mistakes, lots of what-ifs and second guessing. And these little hiccups can turn into drastically different outcomes than what I'm used to. For example, here. I do not recall this manserpent ever chasing me up and successfully getting past the swinging saws, yet here he was. But that's fine, I can keep cool, you know, adapt, improve, stab with stick and all. Next, I decided I wanted the Ring of Steel Protection. That's not something I normally do, but I've gotten it before, but I couldn't remember. Am I able to make it to the top before the second ball comes rolling down? I better stop in this side room to be safe. But the manserpent didn't die from the ball, and the major one has come down too. I've never encountered this situation before. And I never will again. I restore my human form because... bleh, then leave the demon's catalyst in Andre's care. While I was still confident Iron Golem would be the easiest boss overall, I was now rightly scared of Sin's not-so-fun house, so made the decision to take on the Capra Demon. I mean, I had the Wolf Ring and a decent amount of health and defenses. It would probably be fine. Oh fuck, I didn't raise the gate, oh god. This means I had to take the long way around because the dragon was still guarding the bridge and it wasn't worth the risk, but the Undead Berg is no problem at this point. I forgot to buy the key to free Griggs, but who needs them? Also, my weapon is so long it reaches through the doors. I love being able to do this on the first time through this area, and since I was hoping this was my only time through it, you better believe I capitalized on that. You might be wondering why I'm rolling into this fog wall. Don't worry, I'll explain later. After making sure I was at full health, I swallowed my fear and stepped into the arena, immediately rushed like always. Fortunately, the Demon Spear's rolling attack is actually a somewhat horizontal sweep. Well, it's closer to a 45-degree angle sweep, but that's infinitely better than the straight pokes it has otherwise. This allowed me to take out the dog instantly, and I decided to stay close to the entrance so it was just me versus Capra. Within half a minute, that's another boss down. Unfortunately, no extra life drop, but this won't be the last time I see him. Well, time to level up again. Alright, I forgot. Firekeeper Andre allows me to get 1 point in strength though. Since I wanted to do all bosses anyway, I would eventually have to go to the depths and fight Gaping Dragon, so I figured why not do it now, and if I don't rest at the midway bonfire, I can easily just bone out like I did with Quelaag. I make sure to take it nice and slow, luring the enemies back to the stairs just in case. Of course, then I immediately fling myself over the banister, which you would think is more dangerous, right? Throwing myself into enemy territory, but no, going the normal path has those torch hollows. No thank you. I grab the large ember as I actually want it on this run, then drop down the butcher's backdoor meat chute and plunge attack the giant rat just for fun. Now I'm just gonna roll against this wall for a little while, minding my own business, as you do. Yeah, easy Chandler kill. Yeah, so rolling in this water is so loud it draws the Chandler over and you can hit him through the wall. This is why I tried it at the entrance to Capra's arena, but that one doesn't work on the dogs, though I couldn't tell you why. Whether it's because there's no water or because they're programmed not to move, I'm not sure. At any rate, thanks Illusory Wall for taking a little bit of danger out of this run. Now all that's left to do is fight Gaping Dragon. Easy enough, just bait the head slam and give him a little poke in his floppy head. YouTube, you can get mad at me for a lot of the jokes in this video, but that one is just a factually correct statement. I also cut off his tail, giving me an idea for another run, but in this one, the Dragon King greataxe is completely useless, so it'll be sold to Frampt for probably 1 soul knowing that cheapskate. Either way, with Gaping Dragon dead, that's another cool 25,000 souls. I use all of them on strength, bringing it to 29, which is just enough to two-hand the demon's great machete, but just a tiny bit too short for the other two. Still, having another weapon I can use puts my mind at ease. Stamina management is gonna suck. Base thief endurance plus a sword that weighs as much as roughly 10 Pizza Hut large pepperoni pizzas does not make for a very mobile build. It would probably be best to level some of my weapons at least a tiny bit, so I take on the Titanite Demon. I still almost died. Seriously, I hate these things. Does anyone actually enjoy fighting them? After it's dead, I wanted Andre to increase my Demon Spear a bit, but then realized it's one of them expensive weapons. 5,000 per upgrade. Really? To smash a rock into a stick? 5,000? Well, I don't know how much Havel is worth, but I do want his ring anyway. At first I was going to chain backstab him, but then he instantly turned around and I saw my entire life flash before my eyes, so I retreated and employed the ultimate mage tactics, hitting him through a wall. Well, it only worked the first time because he moved back, but that's okay because if there's anything being a child in the 90s has taught me, it's that rock fall from high place, rock break, like his kneecaps. Also, he's worth 3,000, which brings me over the 5,000 necessary. Here, Andre, take your stupid money. Frampt, eat this, and oh wow, it's 5,000 by itself. Okay, that is pretty nice. I mean, would have been nicer to know like 20 seconds ago, but whatever. At 31 strength, I am finally able to two-hand the final weapons, meaning my whole arsenal is now available. But I wasn't really prepared to use them for a multitude of reasons. They aren't upgraded, I move as fast as a sloth, am exclusively fat rolling and so on, but I'm glad to know that they're there if I need them. For the time being, I buy a few titanite shards so I can level them up later and then set off. I figured I was strong enough for the return Asylum trip, and I make sure to grab the key so I can get the rusted iron ring for later. Man, this sure is a great spot to practice yoga. Sure hope nothing bad happens. While on this incline and locked on, the spear goes over the gods of destruction's head. Thankfully, they are merciful and let me pass without incident. Lemon, this is nothing personal, I need that shield, even though I never use it. I make sure not to forget the doll, but also get a lucky Black Knight sword drop from the other knight here, and that's another video idea. With that, it's time to start the Stray Demon fight, and as you can see, that's not very much damage, so I'd like to explain something about these runs. I'm positive at least one person by now has commented, "You cheated in the weapons! Dislike! Dirty stupid cheater! Big doo-doo head!" or something similar. It happens every time. Why did I wait till now to address that? Well, because comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. Okay, jokes aside, what I actually wanted to say is that the reason I cheated them in is because if I didn't, there was a high likelihood this video would end within like 10 minutes, you know? Yes, Jane, exactly like that. Would you like your Captain Obvious award now? Anyway, that being said, it is possible to do this without Cheat Engine. You would either need to subscribe to the idea that the run starts after the tutorial and thus killing the Asylum demon without getting the Estus nets you the demon's great hammer, or if you do Asylum skip, anger the Hellkite Drake, use the Master Key to go through Darkroot and up into Undead Parish backwards, go under the bridge, spawn the dragon to fly over and barbecue the enemies, get 20,000 souls, buy and use the Crest of Artorias, or alternatively go the much more dangerous back path up by the Hydra, join the Forest Hunters, move Shiva to Blighttown, farm up another 15,000 souls, and finally buy the Demon's Great Spear from him. I can almost guarantee had I done that method, I would have died somehow and with no real lives on the board, run over. Thus, Cheat Engine, much faster and cleaner for the narrative. Anyway, I have thrust my spear into the Stray Demon's jiggle physics to completion. I fucking hate the way I wrote that sentence. With Slab and 20,000 souls in hand, I bone out having totally not forgotten anything. At this point, I decide to go for more vitality levels to bring up my health bar just a little bit. I then immediately realize what I forgot, but it's okay, I still have a reason to go back. See, from the female undead merchant I can buy a single prism stone and a single pile of poop and trade both of them for a single demon titanite. Then I grab the ring. Yep, totally calculated, 100%, don't question it. I upgrade my spear to +2 as well as my demon's great machete to +3 and figured it was finally time to tackle sins properly. Wow, that's a pretty rare drop I think, a good sign maybe. So there are 4 titanite demons down below and I do have the iron ring, but I'm not insane enough to just jump down there, at least not yet. Instead, I take it slow. Thankfully, the snake man from before doesn't spawn again, and oh hey, my souls, I forgot about those, a constant reminder of my failure. Whatever, I grab the stupid ring, then carefully make my way up top without an issue. I use the souls I collected to get the demon's greataxe to +3 as well, again just future-proofing, then attack the firebomb throwing giant who rampaged not once, but twice, hitting me both times and sending me into a mild panic attack. Thankfully, I was able to recover and beat him before he beat me. I decided to fight Iron Golem on the wider part of the arena. I'm positive this weapon could stagger him and knock him off for a quicker kill, but I didn't want to risk myself being turned into a sidewalk pancake. Please sit down, Mr. Golem. Now you might experience a slight tingling sensation. I assure you that is normal. I'm a trained professional. 40,000 souls. Finally we're in the big leagues, but I can't spend them freely, I have to be smart about it. First, I grabbed the cage key because I knew I would be going up and down sins at least once, then buy 5 titanite shards from Andre and upgrade my demon's greataxe to +5, then think, why not? Buy 9 more titanite shards and take the demon's great hammer to +5 as well. Then I ascend all 3 weapons to +6 so I can easily upgrade it myself at the bonfire later. At this point, I realized I had enough leftover souls to buy the Crest of Artorias. Killing Andre would be a massive mistake right now as I haven't given him the very large ember, and while it would cost a lot to buy it, Civ herself is pretty easy and awards a pretty soul, so I bought it. I then talked to the funny looking Garfield so the local madmen would stop trying to torch and pitchfork me for stepping on their rosebuds, and then walk into the big empty ominous room. I make sure to grab the hornet ring for later, and now it's time for the only good doggo in the series. Well, that was more than half my health, so I'm partially scared. The hard part of fighting Seath is the spear's very linear hitbox. Sure, the rolling attack helps, but after I get in position, I just gotta aim for her stick legs. Fortunately, Seath's AI frequently bugs out, and if you're on her side, she'll spend a decent amount of time just trying to face you, which results in this circling behavior and is more or less free damage. Insert, I'm not crying, you're crying, someone is cutting onions in here. Topped back up to 40,000 souls, I level the demon's great machete once, then head back into Sins. Rude, but this is why I picked up the key, it's an easy way back up. Then I just gotta hop over here and can buy a handful of large titanite shards from the crestfallen merchant, which I will hold on to for just a little bit. Then I take the Batwing Express into the City of Gold. First thing to do is grab a demon titanite from this chest, then talk to the Dark Moon Knights about upgrading to a large sippy cup. Upgrade the demon spear once and put my first level into endurance. I wanted more stamina so I could swing the heavier weapons easier, but also the ability to fast roll while I'm holding them. There's another demon titanite here, and now it's time for the test of gravity. No matter how many times you play this game, the rafters are always scary and ever unforgiving, but this time I was in their good graces as I managed to get by without falling to my demise. However, as you all know, that's only half the battle. I did clear out all the rats with wings in hopes that at least one of them would drop an extra life, but none of them did. Okay, no more delays. Time for the archer bit. I swear, JK always makes this part look so easy, but they never want to rush me. He always fires arrows point blank. Fortunately, I did eventually trick him into swinging, and doubly so, the riposte one-shot him, meaning the hard part was over. I decided it would be in my best interest to kindle the bonfire. This is mostly because my strength weapons weren't maxed out or at the highest level that they could be right now, and I was concerned with how little damage a spear would probably end up doing. On a related note of things I don't usually end up doing, I actually killed both mimics because the coins they drop can be eaten by Frampt for a decent amount of money. 2 more demon titanite in this chest, bringing my spear to +4 and for good measure, my demon machete to +10, and now there was only one thing left to do before O&S, and no, it's not fight the titanite demon. I will avenge Anastasia. What the hell? Why did he get hurt there? What? It happened again. What's going on? Are they stubbing their toes? With this, I have reclaimed the soul of the Firekeeper and got a nice little ring out of it, the Ring of Favor and Protection, otherwise known as the FAP ring, which, considering the location you invade Lautrec, I see what you did there, Michael Zaki. Anyway, it grants health, stamina, and equiplo, but breaks if removed. That's fine, I don't plan on taking it off. Combined with Havel's ring and a nudist mentality, I am able to fast roll with the Great Machete, which is good, though I would like to have more protection than just a thin layer of cloth. With a couple of poppable souls and a tiny bit of farming, I get my vitality to 28 and it was time to face the dastardly duo. I decided, perhaps against my better judgment, to use the spear. I knew it would hardly tickle Ornstein, but I was just afraid that without the little armor and protection from the steel ring, that I would be in danger of being two-shot or ganked by them at the same time. I was right on the money about it doing virtually nothing to Mr. Bench's a continental shelf, but then something happened. I kept hitting him, and not getting hit, and before I knew it, he was transformed into a crepe. Now it's just me versus Big Smo, and surprisingly the spear does a decent amount to him. Even more amazingly, it can actually stun him in 2 hits, though he almost seems to animation cancel that into a butt slam, so it wasn't really the best call. Believe it or not, I got through this hitless. I guess that's what they call god gamer skills. Ma'am, I'd do anything for you. What, again? With Lordvessel in hand, I have officially reached the mid-game. First thing I did was restore Anastasia to default settings, then I returned to Sins ready to exorcise some demons. I know the drop down on the first one is survivable, plus I have the ring for movement and the tar, but I was super worried that the falling damage plus some BS hitbox would take me out, so I decided to drop onto the higher platform with these 3 snake mages instead. The first 2 Titanite demons go down without an issue, but the third and presumably the fourth have more health and logically likely more damage output. Ah yes, quite terrifying. Fortunately, the spear has some insane range, so it's actually possible to run in and hit them with the pointy end then leave. I didn't even bother killing the fourth one because I only needed the 3 Titanite. I did accidentally pop a humanity when I meant to bone out, but hey, that's fine, extra physical defense, I guess. Demon Spear is maxed out, and next I do something I honestly forget that you even can do. I level up my armor. It wasn't a huge increase, but I mean, anything is better than nothing, right? Brother, you need to start listening to the other 9 dentists. I still can't get over how big this stupid spear is. It looks so dumb. Anyway, bowl down, gates are open, possibilities endless. Well, not endless, more like 4-ish, but still. Cramped? Eat my money. That only got me 1 level endurance, but that's fine. Honestly, of all the Lord Souls, the Four Kings is probably the easiest. I mean, Seath is gonna be easy too, but Curse could be a problem if I'm out of position. Granted, the same thing could be said about the Abyss Boys if too many spawn, but just murder efficiently, right? But either way, I want to pick up the very large ember as soon as I could. I make sure to lure all the ghosts outside, and with the insane length of my spear, I take care of them, ultimately bringing me to Ingward and the key. I lower the water, then had one of the most old man gamer moments of my life where I completely forgot how to actually get down to the lower half of Anor Londo. There's an elevator literally right next to the water gate lever. It's literally like I could jump IRL, the distance between the two, standing jump even, but I forgot. Did you know you can call this elevator up without touching the pressure pad after you lower the water? Because I didn't, but you can. Either way, I grab the very large ember, which allows me to make plus 15 weapons with Andre. But to do that, I'll need chunks. I was hoping for a couple lucky drops, but never got one. Thankfully, there is a single chunk in this chest. With that, it's time for the Four Kings. Now, when you walk into the fog gate, if you go straight off the ledge and when you land, look at roughly your character's 7 or 8 o'clock, that is the direction the first king spawns in, so you can try and close the distance to get a jumpstart on their health bar. But one time when I was doing a challenge run, I hit one of those ledges on the way down, dying from fall damage, so I didn't want to risk that and haven't bothered to memorize the direction to run if you fall off from the base of the stairs. All that is to say is that the moment the first king died, the second one spawned in, which you might think is a bad thing, but what that means is I was able to do so much damage that even being unoptimal, the king's timer barely made it. So the subsequent kings should go down well before their followers show up. Sure enough, when the second king died, I had about 10 seconds of downtime. To be fair, that didn't happen on the final king, but it was pretty close, and that is a Lord Soul in the books. Also, a lovely 60,000 souls that will become 4 points of endurance. I wasn't super positive on what to do next. Seath would have been the safe bet, but instead I opted to go back to the Demon Runes only because there are at least 2 more bosses plus a handful of machete chances. I am not doing Bit of Chaos yet though. I do talk to the fair lady on the way down just to make Ingi jealous. Imagine being in her service forever and then some eggheadless having human shows up and chats her up like it's nothing. Anyway, down in the Demon Ruins there are a bunch of respawning Taurus and Capra demons, but I didn't want to just farm extra levels. That seems really disingenuous to the premise of the run. As such, I would only fight the ones in my way. Granted, you can slip off the path to land next to the bonfire and avoid 6 of the goaty boys, but in this case, I decided to take the long way around. Don't worry though, none of them dropped a damn thing. Also, Kirk showed up because I'm human, and at first I was like, oh man, that's annoying. Then I remembered he drops like 35,000 souls, so... Hey Kirk, old buddy, old pal, have you ever had invasive instant heart surgery? No? Would you like to? With all those souls, I was able to get 19 endurance, which when combined with Havel's Ring allowed me to fast roll while wearing pants. The machete is slightly lighter than the axe or hammer, but it's a start. Speaking of the axe, this bolt didn't drop anything either. Time for the fire stage. The damage was alright, it could be better, but I'll take it. The real issue is the linear arena and if he attempts to explode. I could very easily be caught out and be in for a bad time. It doesn't help that you can easily get caught on some of the roots in here, so I had to be extra careful. I tried to finish him off with a cool charge jumping attack, but then he didn't die and I thought I made a horrible mistake. Luckily, just a few seconds later, we traded and it was good for me. Of course, he drops the Demon Catalyst, but like I said way earlier, since this is a guaranteed drop, I'm not allowing myself to keep it. At this point, I decided I'm probably tanky enough to survive getting the Blighttown Firekeeper soul, so I hop on down there and am surprised the blow darts actually stagger me. Annoying, but not the end of the world. After taking care of the dogs, I grab the soul and bounce, no problem. And for once, I actually remember to use it, so after bringing my S's to +3, I then head over to the Duke's Archives. This is mostly just to touch the bonfire here so I can homeward bone back to it. First, I grab a controversial ring, then I go obliterate the Hydra, followed by killing the Golden Golem and freeing Dusk. This should allow me to collect the broken pendant from that golem in the Duke's Archives that I can now conveniently warp back to with a homeward bone. See? Sometimes I plan these things. With pendant in hand, I guess we might as well talk about the dragon in the room. Yes, I know Duke Skip exists. Yes, I know there is a way to set it up at least semi-consistently. No, I do not think I could land it within the few lives I have left. As such, I'm going to just play the game the intended way and take my mandatory death from Seath. However, as it is mandatory, I will not count it as a life lost. To preserve the idea, I am using the Ring of Sacrifice. If you don't like that, that's fine. Your opinion is valid, and I look forward to your video where you do this exact run, but with Duke Skip. Something weird did happen here though. Seath, didn't realize I walked into his arena? Like, he just sat there for about 20 seconds before he finally did anything. I don't know if that was like just random rolls of what he could do and he decided to do nothing repeatedly or what, but it was kind of funny to have just accepted my death and Seath was like, nah, you good fam, second chances and all. Either way, I wake up in prison and get another level of endurance, then break out. Another Man-Serpent Greatsword? What? Why though? I mean, fine, but what in the world is this luck? I don't think I've ever even used this weapon, and now I have 2 of them. Oops, that's probably not good. Oh, no, it's okay, I'm alive. I'm not sure if I'm having more close calls than usual, or I'm just noticing them more. That was way more satisfying than it should have been. I grabbed the tower key because even though I didn't save Logan, there's still something I want in that room. It's the Firekeeper soul. What, did you think that was a bit mysterious with how I worded it? No, it's just a plain old Firekeeper soul. At this point I wasn't completely sure what to level. I was at the first soft cap of Vitality and already passed the 1 for Strength, but I still couldn't two-hand my weapon and was super worried if I tried to parry Gwyn I might mess up the two-handed riposte, then die to panicking, so I ultimately made my biceps a little bit more toned. A quick stop at Anastasia for more go-go juice and it was time to slay a dragon. I opted to use the Demon Spear because of the built-in lightning damage, though to be honest it probably wasn't as strong as the machete, but hey. 276, that's not great, but it's not bad, though Seath has a sizable health pool to make it look a little less impressive. The cursed crystals were a bit of an annoyance, but way less of a problem than I thought they would be, and that's another Lord Soul down. 35 strength, almost there. For main bosses, this leaves the Bed of Chaos and Nito, neither of which I was really excited to do, but I could at least easily crush Pinwheel for like a free level. From Software doth proclaim, if it has a health bar, it is a boss. To which I say, behold, From Software's boss. I've navigated the Tomb of the Giants without a light source hundreds of times, but this time, I don't know, I got a little worried, so instead I ran away. Before I leave the catacombs though, there is another thing I wanted to grab. Oh hey, a skull lantern. Seriously, why can't I have this luck when I'm actually farming things? Anyway, the actual item I wanted to grab was the Dark Moon Seance Ring. It's necessary in this run because despite my stick's absolutely demonic length, I couldn't even give Guinevere the tip, and with that joke, I'm sure YouTube has taken this video out back and old yellered the green checkmark. So if you like this content, I have a Patreon where for the low price of a couple of bucks a month, you could enable my McDonald's addiction. Oh, also help keep the channel afloat, you know. Before committing Godicide, I buy a few large titanite shards for later. I don't really need to upgrade anything right now because I mean, it's Gwendolyn, come on. I chose to use the Demon's Greataxe, and I think this is the first time I've ever used it. It's nice. Big satisfying bonk, to be sure. Unsurprisingly, the Snake Leggy Boy goes down with absolutely 0 issues. Please ignore the fact that I'm missing one Estus. That's a glitch. I then upgrade my Demon's Great Hammer to +9 and the Axe to +7, then gaze into this art so hard, it gazes back. For Priscilla, I figured I would use the Demon's Great Hammer. To be honest, it's just because the hammer hasn't gotten much love in the video, and totally not because I couldn't decide which jokes would be worse, the thrusting spear or the big in-stick ones for her. But I also realized I just fired one off about Guinevere, so I'll hold back for now. I make sure to take extra caution when dealing with the undead dragon, don't want to repeat from that one time. Then I totally intentionally failed the jump input multiple times because someone once told me you can do this with a regular heavy attack, and I wanted to prove that's not the case. Oh Priscilla, truest of queens, how loath I am to kill you in my runs, but the algorithm demands sacrifice. I did try to get some tail, but she shot me down. Alright, you're angry with me now, huh? Well, that sure is convenient. Big Hammer, what do you not understand? I upgrade the Great Hammer to +10, then level strength once with what's left over. The next boss up on the chopping block is the Demon Centipede, only because I knew he should be easy, lava withstanding. Or should I say, not in standing. Get it? Because if I stand in the lava, I'll die. I ended up cutting off both his arm and tail just because I could, I guess. I don't know, I had to make this fight exciting somehow. Easy first try. 39 strength, meaning I am 1 level away from being able to one-hand the demon's great machete. Now, I definitely could have used poppable souls to push me to 40, but Sanctuary Guardian is a very easy fight, all things considered. So, a big hand grabs me and yanks me so hard I wake up in a different place. The Great Hammer might only be +10, but the Guardian's low health and defenses still let me chunk its health bar with every swing. It has a 2 and a 4 hit combo, so if you aren't sure which it's doing, if it goes for the 3rd swing it means there will be a 4th, which you can easily follow up on. In this case I did, and knowing it would die in 1 more hit, I rushed in to finish the job. With that, 40 strength, and now a decision to make. So I didn't really expect Artorias or Manus to be an issue. Calamite could get his jank hitboxes involved, but I did want to have a maxed out weapon for those fights. The problem with that is actually getting enough Titanite chunks to make any weapon +15 would require a lot of farming, unless I use the endlessly respawning Black Knights in the kiln. Only to get to them, I would need to satiate the Lordvessel, or in other words, get all 4 Lord's souls, 2 of which are still out of my grasp, Nito and the Bed of Chaos. The Bed of Chaos obviously has gravity-related concerns, but I was also a little afraid of Nito. Not so much the boss itself, but in order to effectively use half my weapons right now, both ring slots need to be taken up, meaning I can't do the old Ring of Fog and Slumbering Dragon Crest ring trick. Nevertheless, I figured getting plus 15 weapons as soon as I could would probably be the smarter play, so I returned to Lost Izalith with my resolve steel to take on the bed of possible gravitational injuries. The Demon's greataxe is my lowest leveled weapon, though honestly probably still stronger than the Demon Spear, but I wanted to hold on to that in case I ran out of other options. I could have something with armor. The first ball is easy enough to break, the floor is completely intact so you can just hug the right wall and run all the way there. The second ball is where the problems start. What I like to do is hide in this corner and bait out the flaming tentacle slam. It'll do it twice, and if you're pressed up against the wall, it'll miss. So as soon as that second attack is done, sprint jump at the ledge and you can make it. Obviously very risky in this situation, but I pull it off. Make sure to keep an eye on the hand because this will prompt a slam which you can roll through. I had more than enough health to survive it had I messed it up, but in general it's better to just not get hit. Now comes the last bit, which is the hardest. I like to bait the double hand swipe, and while the boss's right hand comes swinging in, run at the boss so you have just enough time to dive under the arena before it can attack again. Do not go too fast because the boss's beard can and will push you off the ledge. It goes for Firestorm, so I try to position myself in a place I won't get hit, but even though I do, I have plenty of health. I can't say I'm not surprised. It's not the first time the bed of chaos taketh, and it will not be the last, I am sure. I can only hope that my death appeased it this time around. It was a bit nerve-wracking thinking the whole run could end right here, but I could do nothing but push forward, ultimately crushing the bug to a fine paste. And, as a little bonus, I can actually go back and grab my souls without running all the way from the last bonfire. Yay! With over 100,000 souls, I level up resistance, which sounds crazy, and in a way it is. I should have pushed for 46 strength, but with the DLC boss's souls, I'll probably be fine getting that. Resistance increases your physical defenses at double the rate of the other stats, so I was trying to boost my damage negation in the event I didn't have armor on. Last up for the main game, aside from Gwyn, is Nito, so I talk to Patches, who pushes me in a hole. This is fine, all according to Keikaku. Since I'm here, I figured I might as well save Rhea by absolutely annihilating her bodyguards right in front of her. A real "we did it Patrick, we saved the town" moment if you didn't know they were already hollow. Oh, and on the note of Rhea, a couple of poppable souls and resistance is 14, then I make a quick stop in the Undead Burg, as well as the Undead Parish to take out the Black Knights for their chunks. Tempting, but no. There's one more chunk outside the giant blacksmith, which conveniently has the Batwing Demon, so a final chance to get an extra life. Unfortunately, I just got a rock. Well, at any rate, I used what I had to make the Great Machete a plus 13, and now it's time for Bone Grandpa. I actually kindled the bonfire up to max because I was so worried I would make a silly mistake and get hit with Toxic, then maybe a bleed proc, and I just wanted to be extra safe. Like I mentioned earlier, I have navigated this place dozens, maybe hundreds of times without a light source, so here I wanted to do it again, but something felt off. Like everything was the same, but shifted 2 centimeters to the side, you know? I should have listened to my instinct. Hell, I had 2 skull lanterns. Never get complacent. The game is not your friend, and it will rip you to shreds the moment you let your guard down. Goodbye, just upgraded Demon Greataxe. Would have been nice to use that plus 13 weapon, but whatever. I think the part that annoys me the most is not that I died, it's just that I used my chunks on it and immediately lost it. I grabbed the Silver Serpent's ring on my way down because why not? Optimistically, this will be the only time I run by it, then continue deeper into the tomb. The good news is as long as they aren't blocking, the skeletons die in a single hit, so if I can group them together and hit them as they stand up, they're pretty much out of the fight. Technically, I could have redone the Great Hammer to be divine, and there would be some funny irony about a divine demon hammer, but I was too lazy to go all the way back to Andre to do that. The actual damage to Nito is less than amazing, but serviceable. Also, I had to tank the Miasma attack a couple of times, but it did far less damage than I thought it would, so it's okay. Similarly, I didn't block early enough to evade the Surprise Sword Enema attack, but not only did it hardly hurt me, I had enough toxic resist that it didn't proc immediately. Also, for anyone who isn't sure, yes, this weapon can totally do the block evade trick, I was just too slow. And with that, Gravelord Nito goes down on the first try. Honestly, way less worrisome than I thought it would be. I get 15 resistance, which is apparently the first soft cap. I guess the returns would be too great if it was higher, then start working on strength now that I don't have my machete. With the kiln open, I begin farming chunks. In theory, I could have stayed here until I had a max Great Hammer and plus 9 armor, but I didn't really want to spend that much time grinding, plus it takes a tiny amount of danger away, and at this point I can't feel anything unless there's a fire under my ass, so I got the hammer to 14 and a level in strength, then called it a day. On my way to Artorias, I had to answer an interesting question. Do I lead with the hammer for the very likely much higher damage, or do I use the spear? In the case of the hammer, the fight should be over much faster, minimizing the risk of me dying. However, if that did happen, it's gone. For the spear, it's going to be far less damage, but as long as I don't play risky, that should be fine, and if I do die, I still have my big guns in reserve. Ultimately, I went with the spear and just hoped that my skills would be great and my hubris small. Oh yeah, less than 100 per hit. That's what I like to see. One neat optimization is that when Artorias goes for his sliding sweep, he will dodge roll away after, but the sheer length of the spear is enough to poke him, getting some extra counter damage in. If you're only using this weapon, that's helpful, but if you have access to anything stronger, just use that instead. And after nearly 4 minutes, Knight Artorias is put to rest. Wow, one whole level, many helpful. I put the leftover souls to good use by upgrading my armor. This wasn't like, I'm scared of Manus, it was just me trying to min-max myself a bit. I was slightly worried Chester was going to show up because I was in human form, but it turns out his spawn trigger is, I guess, somewhere on the bridge or near the Mimic, because if you go the back way to grab the silver pendant, he never spawns. Also picked up the crest key for use in a moment. I took the rest of Ulasil pretty slowly, for example actually stopping to fight the chained prisoner instead of praying to RNGesus that I didn't get pincered when calling the elevator up. And this paid off as I made it to the Abyss successfully on my first try. A fair amount of large titanite shards had dropped from the crazed denizens, so I went ahead and upgraded my armor even more because what else am I going to do with them at this point? Also, I spent 10,000 souls on some homeward bones because I was running low. Finally, I kindled the bonfire to max out of sheer nervousness and it was time to face the Father of the Abyss. I'm pretty comfortable fighting Manus. I don't think he's overly difficult, and with the speed and range of the spear, it should be totally fine, though I did quickly realize I might have forgotten to equip the silver pendant. I could have waited for his big rampage combo and menued for it, but I figured, you know what? No, it's a little bit spicier if I don't do that. The fight is pretty slow because of how crappy the damage is, and the fact that in most cases I only went for one attack to be extra safe and make sure I had enough stamina to get away should he start flailing about. In phase 2, I played in close to mid-range in case he ever did the Circle Darkness attack. Fortunately, he never cast that, only doing the Rain and Shotgun one, which can be dodged by running in a well-timed roll, respectively. And before long, the Father of the Abyss is checked off the list. 45 strength, so close, yet so far. I upgrade my armor some more and kindle once again, no risk taken here. But with 2 bosses left, I was feeling a little confident. I needed to be weary of Calamite pulling any shenanigans, but I was still able to make one mistake. I grab all the stuff in his arena, then peace out before he can barbecue me. This prompts Dragon Slayer Lisa over here to ask me if Calamite is giving issue, and then blast the Winged Devil out of the sky. Calamite has a lot of health and a lot of resistances, so this was an endurance match. Not only did I have 20 Estus, but I was also packing my humanity on the quick bar for a full restore, plus slightly increasing my own defenses with each one used. I attempted several times to poke him in the eye with my spear to see if that would trigger the stagger, but the only time I could find to aim that well was after his calamity attack. Unfortunately, I never managed to land it. Anyone out there know if you can? As retribution for my failure, I cut off his tail. And after just short of 8 minutes in the ring with me, Calamite has met his untimely demise, leaving only one final obstacle: Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. 2 chances. That's all I'm going to get. I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm going to do: parry Gwyn into oblivion. Calamite gave me the 46th level in strength necessary, but that doesn't mean it's over yet. If Gwyn decides to do a quick slash, obviously the parry will fail, and then I'll be on the back foot. I can't count how many times I tried to back away to safety heal, only for him to come flying at me at the speed of Mach fuck to ruin my day. Just for the heck of it, I grinded out 4 more chunks and, using the titanite slab in Calamite's arena, made my shirt a +10. I was as ready as ever. All it took was 3 clean parries and the final obstacle of the run has fallen, and I have beaten Dark Souls with only demon weapons plus an arbitrary life system. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy doing these limited lives runs. I know they're not, the most crazy, challenging thing on the planet. In fact, it's kind of just playing the game. But personally, I enjoy, one, this fear that at any point I can make a mistake and the run is over, right? Like, I can just fall off the rafters, or Bed of Chaos can just completely shut everything down. But also, at the beginning, there's always a little bit of, strategy, kind of, because usually, 90% of the arsenal's not usable right off the bat. So it becomes this idea of, do I, take it really slow and kill everything in my path to get the levels, or do I just go hard and try and beat 4 kings and get a bunch of souls immediately? But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope if you checked out the Level 0 channel that you enjoyed it as well. It's been fun playing these games that I might not otherwise get a chance to show off to you all, at least not on Doomwolf. That being said, I'm definitely gonna make a Morrowind video. Anyway, congratulations, Wonder Woodsy, on being this week's Grand Champion.